I love surfing because it has all of the exhilaration of skiing, but almost none of the expense. And again, there's a wonderful camaraderie, a wonderful egalitarianism back beyond the breakers. You can be a CEO of a company or a Prime Minister of a country, as the case may be, or you can be an unemployed panel beater, whatever you are. Everyone's the same out in the waves. When I left university and got involved in journalism, there were some approaches made from the Labor Party. Bob Carr and the famous John O. Johnson hosted a few dinners involving me at State Parliament House in the late 80s, and John O. was very keen to get me into the Labor Party, and I did think about it, I've got to say. Eventually I concluded that first, I didn't have any great commitment to the union movement, and second, I was probably a little bit too tough-minded even for the New South Wales Labor right. The problem with the Labor Party as I see it is, first of all, they are too statist for what I think is good policy, and they are still owned and operated by the union movement, and I don't see why one section of our society should own and operate the party of government or alternative government in our country. The RSL doesn't have its own party, the Country Women's Association doesn't have its own party, business doesn't have its own party, women don't have their own party, migrants don't have their own party, Aborigines don't have their own party. Why should the unions have their own party, and why should they, of all the groups, expect either to be the government or the alternative government of our country? How do we give Aboriginal people all the opportunities that Australians normally take for granted to make the most of their lives and to make the best of themselves? And this is why over the years I have become absolutely determined that we have got to get the basics right, and the basics of any decent community are the kids go to school, the adults go to work, and the law is enforced. And all too often these three basic fundamentals are absent. Domestic violence is an abomination, whether it happens in an Indigenous household or any other household. Child abuse is an abomination wherever it takes place. And you cannot let misguided compassion or misconceptions about culture get in the way of what is necessary to allow people to be safe. I deeply regret that on present indications I will be the only Prime Minister who ever opted to spend a week of my prime ministerial year in remote Indigenous Australia, because if Aboriginal people make up about 2% of our population, why can't you spend, as PM, 2% of your time in a remote place and get so many of the other senior figures of government to do likewise, if we are going to give Aboriginal people the attention they deserve? There's this constant refrain from Labor that the Liberal Party is the party of big business. Look, the Liberal Party, in Bob Menzies' time and since, has been the party of Middle Australia. It's been the one party that has neither a sectional base nor a regional base, but is doing its best to reach out to everyone, to families, to small business people, to farmers, to people who aspire to a better life for themselves and for their children. I think the Liberal Party, more than any other party we've seen, is a party whose values can touch just about everyone, because above all else, we are the patriotic party. We want our country to be as strong as it can be. We know our country has done great things. We are proud of all the great things we've done, and we want to build on the great strengths of the past. We want to build a better future on the great strengths of the past.